I, 28F, was asked by my 25F sister to be the MOH for her wedding that was between a year and a half to 2 years out. 6 months ago, I found out that I am pregnant. My husband and I hadn't really been actively trying, but we weren't using protection because I've been told since I was in my teens that I was unlikely to be able to get pregnant, naturally. We are overjoyed and our families are as well, except for my sister. A few weeks following my pregnancy announcement, my mom and sister had a conversation about being realistic on if I would be able to take on all the duties of being her MH while pregnant and later with an infant. My sister later spoke with me and told me that if I could not follow through with the duties of being her MH, it was okay. They could find something else for me to be involved in with the wedding. For context, my sister and future brother-in-law's wedding party is so big that they have two best men and two MOHs. I discussed it with my family and husband, but I ultimately decided that it wasn't fair to my sister or my child to make a promise to fulfill those duties when I would have a 3 to 4 month old infant and was generally unsure if I could do everything she needed of me. The wedding is 2 towns away, 30+ minutes drive, and I would either have to bring the baby with me for the day of the wedding. What bride and bridesmaids want to listen to a baby all day while they are getting ready? Or I would have to leave the baby with someone else from around 8 a.m. that morning to somewhere between 6 to 8 p.m. that night. So I ultimately pulled out of the wedding party about 12 months before the date, and intend to help with other things. The problem is, despite my sister giving me the out and me taking the out, she will not speak to me. She hasn't spoken to me or answered my calls in about 6 months. She showed up to my gender reveal and completely ignored me. She ignores me at family dinners, outings, etc. My entire family has told her she is in the wrong and needs to get over it, but I understand that it's her special day. But now I'm angry too, because I know that once I have this baby, she is going to try to come into my home and act like everything is fine. And I will not allow that to happen. I have had a difficult pregnancy so far, full of complications and sickness. My sister has been my best friend for years. She was the first person I called when I found out. And she was the one that gave me an out in the first place. I needed her too.
Comment 1. I'm honestly confused by the math. You got pregnant, I assume you found out around a month after getting pregnant. Then you talked to your sister, who told you it was okay not to be Mo. More time passes. You finally decide not to go to the wedding 14 months before it happens because your baby would be between 3 and 4 months old. How is it possible? You made the decision, at the earliest, when you were 2 months pregnant, with 7 to go. So your baby would be around 7 months at the time of the wedding. Huge difference when a baby is that young. So what's up with that? Comment 2. NTA. She did what any loving and understanding sister would do, and that is, give you an out due to your pregnancy and everything that comes along with it. It's not your fault that she's changed direction and is angry with you. I know she thinks her wedding is the most important event to ever take place on planet Earth, but she's being childish and selfish. And you're not leaving her high and dry. She has a second Mo. She should really grow up. Comment 3. The whole timeline of this doesn't make sense. You found out a few months ago that you were pregnant, but it's been 6 months that your sister hadn't talked to you since you dropped out of the wedding due to the pregnancy? And you pulled out 14 months before the wedding because you would have a 3 to 4 month old at that point, which means you would have to have pulled out of the wedding before you got pregnant? I, 23F, have a sister, 28, who has 2 kids and is going through a divorce. Before my sister had kids, she was the funnest and smartest person around. She had hobbies, took classes every week to learn new skills, and had a close friend group she's maintained until recently that she's had since middle school. I looked up and admired her so much. But she hasn't been that way in years. Ever since she's had kids, she become a personality-less blob. She got married at 21 and they had their kids at 24 and 25. Marriage isn't what had changed her. Before the kids she was still her fun and eccentric self. After she had her first child, she stayed at home for 6 months and then returned to her job as an art teacher at a country club where she made amazing money and could choose her own hours. She quit after a class saying she couldn't bear to be away from her baby. Whenever my other sisters and parents would offer to watch the baby so my sister and her husband could go on date nights, she refuses, saying no one can take care of the baby like her. She then got pregnant again. On purpose, she wanted them a year apart. I'm not joking when I say she hasn't left the house to do anything without her babies. She cancelled on every plan her friends, who by the way, half are moms, made for the past 2.5 years, and then got shocked they no longer talk to her. She gets upset her husband still has friends and hobbies outside of being a dad, yet when she's offered the same leisure she declines. She let herself go physically. She will brag about not showering for days, but her kids will always look good. Only posts and reposts stuff about being a mom. She brags about not having a life outside of being a mom. She brags about never missing an hour with her kids. She looks down on women who are moms that go out and have fun. She's missed all of our family birthdays and events if she can't bring her kids with her. It sucks to see my sister become this. I never saw her, of all people, letting being a mom become their whole identity and personality. I get it, it's a major life change and she won't be the same person she was before kids. But having no hobbies, no friends, and ignoring your husband just because you're a mom isn't normal. We've spoken to her so often about this. She just says that this is her new self, and if we don't like it, to get over it. Her husband filed for divorce a month ago, and I think that was my sister's reality check. When she called us in a FT group chat crying, we all just looked at each other and made a face like, be so for real, our parents included. She told us that he wants a divorce because he wants his old wife back and that she's changed for the worst instead of the better. And that he should be grateful she dedicates her whole life to her kids, since other moms would pester the dads to be more involved. Our dad spoke up and asked her when's the last time they went on a date or put their marriage first. She said that they're parents now, so their kids come first, and that is no longer important. We all disagreed and said that just because she's a mom doesn't mean her other relationship dynamics don't matter. My mom offered to watch the kids for the weekend so maybe they could have a moment alone, and she got very upset, saying that she would never leave her kids with someone else just so she can have fun, and hung up. A few days ago my sister asked me to come over and bring her groceries since her car tire was flat. I came inside and we talked about life as her kids napped. She kept talking about the kids, what they did today and yesterday, and blah blah. I asked her about the divorce and how she feels, and she said that he wants 50-50 custody and no way that's happening since she's never spent a second away from her kids, and that she wants our parents to pay for the best divorce lawyer to ensure she gets full custody. I said, you mean the parents you've never allowed to babysit your kids? She got upset and said that doesn't matter. I told her it does. She's refused to allow herself to have a village that so many moms would want, and looks at other women that will let someone babysit their kids as a bad mom. She said it's called being a good mom, and I said no, making your entire personality being a mom doesn't make you a good mom, and that she wouldn't be having a divorce if she was a better wife, she wouldn't be friendless if she was a better friend, and her family wouldn't be distant if she was a better sister/daughter. She started crying and I felt bad and left. All my siblings and parents are on my side, saying it's the truth she needed to hear. She hasn't talked to me since. Comment 1, NTA. Your sister needed the reality check, and she needs professional help. Saying she'd rather be dead than give up the kids half the time is a huge red flag that she's likely to do something horrible and drastic if things don't go her way, and they won't. Even if she gets majority custody, she won't get them 100% of the time, which is what she wants. Comment 2. NTA. Unfortunately, it sounds like the divorce filing was not a wake-up call. If she thinks she is getting 100% custody, she is delusional. She should consider therapy. In her mind, she is doing what is best for the children. Sad she cannot see the issues this is causing. Hopefully she can come to her senses before the children are old enough to remember this stage of her life. My brother Nicky, 25M, is married to Liza, 24F. They were at my parents' house on Sunday for dinner and Liza really annoyed the crap out of me, something that isn't new, and I said something in anger and I might be TA for it maybe. So Liza has a wealthy family. They paid for her and her siblings' college expenses 100%. They paid for Nikki and Liza's house. They paid for their wedding. They're paying for one of their sons' weddings this summer. They can afford all that. Liza has always been very open, if trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, about it. She never hid the fact she came from money and was never shy about saying her parents pay for so much for her and her siblings. Liza doesn't understand that we're not all that lucky. I'm 19F, work full-time, and I still live with my parents. We couldn't afford college. I didn't get the grades for a scholarship. Struggled enough through school that getting into massive debt for college when I could end up flunking seemed like a bad move for me. So I focus on working, and I applied for a couple of training programs close to my parents' house, though I could try and do better without risking debt for nothing. Liza looks down on me so hard for living with my parents still and for not going to college. Sunday she talked about how all her siblings attended college, how 3 of them are still in college, living there and doing just fine. How they'll be able to buy houses right out of college. How even she and my brother could do it. My parents said politely that not everyone can do all that. But then she talked about being 19 and not in college or living on my own, and how I should really try so much harder. I snapped at that moment and I told her we can't all have rich parents who can afford to pay our ways through college, for our weddings and for our houses. I told her my parents didn't have that kind of money and neither did I, so we were doing our best in this shitty fucking economy. Liza told me I'm just lazy and making excuses, and she stormed out. Nikki left a while after and he was pretty quiet. Liza used his phone to send me 30 texts 3 days later demanding I apologize and tearing me a new one for not doing it without being told, and I know it was her because she texts in a very specific way. Comment 1, NTA. In fact, she is the one who owes you an apology for how she treats you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who take their fortune for granted. Kudos to you for realizing college may not be for you at this time or ever and trying to figure out your path. Here is the apology I would send. I am sorry. Sorry that you have been handed so much for free that you have no understanding for how the majority of the people in this world have to work to get by. I hope you will do your best to rectify this. Comment 2. Your NTA. Your sister-in-law is living in a delusional dreamland. Her parents may have bought her all kinds of material things, but they sure never taught her manners or self-reliance. You're going to have to work for everything you have, and you will end up being a lot more appreciative for everything you have and a lot more realistic as well as less judgmental of everyone else. Guess which one of you is the one most of us would prefer to have as a friend? Comment 3. Text her back that you are shocked she has failed to realize she owes you and your parents an apology and how disappointing that you need to explain that to her. She insulted them and you, and if she still doesn't understand why she owes you an apology, then she needs to sit down and take a breath and think. I'm getting married in Sept and all of my bridesmaids and I went dress shopping a couple months ago. For some context, we're all in our mid-20s, employed, with no children. My wedding is out of town for my Mo and a couple other bridesmaids, but I'm getting a hotel room for all out-of-town bridesmaids for the wedding. I've known my Mo since 5th grade and we were best friends all through school. I moved away for college and we drifted apart, but I'd see her every time I came home. The dress shopping trip was out of town, so I paid for the 2 hotel rooms while we were there and I drove. My mom brought my Mo and a couple other bridesmaids since they still live in my hometown. For the dresses, my only requirement for them were that they had to be a specific blue color and no satin material. We spent the whole afternoon trying on dresses and everyone found one they liked, including my Mo. I've been told she picked out a $350 dress when most of my other bridesmaids had dresses in the $100, $150 range. The next day was spent relaxing at the pool where my Mo began complaining to one of my other bridesmaids about having to pay for her dress. Saying it was my wedding, and if I wanted a specific dress for them to wear I should pay for it, and that I didn't pay for the bridesmaid dress when I was in her wedding. She got married at 18 and we wore old prom dresses we already had. My bridesmaid told her I was being pretty reasonable with my request and that she can get any dress she wanted in her budget. Mo disagreed and the bridesmaid shrugged her off, but told me about it later. A month later my Mo called me and asked for me to buy her dress for her. I told her it wouldn't be fair if I bought her dress and no one else's and I couldn't afford to buy everyone's dress. She said she is the Mo and that everyone would understand it was a privilege she got. I disagreed and our argument got a little heated. It ended with me saying if she could not get the dress, she couldn't be in the wedding and I wasn't budging on this. She hung up on me. Her mom has since called me saying I'm being very rude for not doing this one thing for her so she can be there on my big day and that I don't understand what it's like to not have money for things. I told her I have struggled before too and understand, but said I'm not paying for the dress because it won't be fair to all of the other bridesmaids. I've since made one of my other bridesmaids that has helped with all of the planning my Mo and I've told my ex-Mo she is still invited and sent her an invitation, but some family is telling me I should have just paid for the dress. I know ex-Mo is tight on money, but she's known she was going to be in my wedding for nearly 2 years at this point so I thought she would set aside money for it. Comment 1. NTA It's common to buy your own Mo/bridesmaid dress if she can't afford to be in the wedding, understandable if money is an issue, it's quite alright to replace her. Emo, it was shitty of her to complain about the dress to others when that was something she could have brought up to you one-on-one, which makes me wonder if she is really struggling with money or simply didn't want to buy the dress. Either way, you made the right decision. Comment 2. NTA. Sometimes brides pay for bridesmaids' dresses. Sometimes they don't. Mo knew you weren't and picked a dress at least twice as expensive as everyone else's, then whined that it was too expensive.